welcome back to Diving In Deep with me, Sara Evans. Today's guest is a huge TikTok star. She's so hilarious and relatable. Her name is Britany Smith. We're diving deep into her social media stardom and how she turns real life into comedy. You guys, we had so much fun on this episode. You will not want to miss it. So please download it and write a review. Britany Smith.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much for being here. Okay. I think you're the first TikToker that I've had on the podcast, and I find it fascinating. So obviously TikTok just blew up during COVID.
Absolutely, it did.
Everybody was doing, and like in the beginning, like the thing that I always think of is like the that dance, there was
right.
And so the more I got into it and the more bored I was, or just being lazy, scrolling,
right,
I saw you several times. I started seeing more and more and more of you. And I was like, oh my God, she's so funny. And you remind me of a good friend of mine who's from Ozark, Alabama.
Okay.
You know where that is?
I don't know where that is.
It's like very southern Alabama.
Okay. Oh, that makes sense then.
Yes. And I raised my children in a area outside of Birmingham called Mountain Brook, Alabama.
Okay.
So when I saw you, I was just like, oh my God, that's so funny. And, so I guess I want to start by just saying, what in the world? What is it all about? And now what's it all about? Now that TikTok is just like making people's careers.
Right. Absolutely. So I think like you, first off, I didn't even know what TikTok was before COVID. Mm-hmm. So again, the same thing you're saying, you were just scrolling through and looking and stuff. And, I would kind of scroll through and, they have their algorithm where it kind of puts stuff that you keep watching. And so
yes.
I would see people just kind of making this funny stuff. And I was like, shoot, I could do that. And I was a mom of two little ones, at the time they were really little.
Yeah.
And so, but every time I got them down for a nap, I would just be on TikTok scrolling. It is addicting. TikTok is so addictive.
I have a theory, a philosophy or whatever, that everybody needs at least 1 hour a day to lay down and look at TikTok.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So
it can be positive. It doesn't, it's not negative. Yeah.
But, I seen people doing silly stuff on there and I was like, hey, I could probably make some of these videos. And I don't think a lot of people know, unless you are an OG follower since the very beginning with me, I used to make Crisco videos where I would show Crisco in my videos and I would just in a funny way explain unconventional ways to use Crisco.
Oh my God, I do remember that.
So I would just do this like comedic commentary where I would tell you, and honestly, and this is the God's honest truth, my grandmother used to tell me when I first got pregnant with my child Landon, she would say, honey, if you just take some of that Crisco and you rub it on your belly, you won't get any stretch marks. And so both of my pregnancies, I used Crisco on my belly and I have one stretch mark. That's it. So I don't know if the Crisco worked or not. But
wait, did you gain a bunch of weight?
I did. Well, I say I gained a bunch of weight. I weighed 125 pounds both times, but I started out under 100 pounds.
That's what I was going to say.
So I was all belly, honey. I was all belly. If I was turned around, not facing you, you could not see that I was pregnant until I turned to the side. I
literally hate women like you.
I'm so sorry.
Every time I got pregnant, it was like, before I even knew I was pregnant, I was showing.
No.
Fat. But that's so lucky. But you're ripe to get stretch marks because you're so little.
Yeah. So, and I thought, I was like, for sure, I'm just, that's just a part of being a mom, and stretch marks are beautiful. And if you have stretch marks, there's nothing wrong with that. But I used that Crisco my whole pregnancy. Well, then, I don't know how I kind of got off on the skits, but I don't know if you remember this song, Driver's License, that came out with, Olivia Rodriguez. Am I saying her name right? Okay. If I didn't say her name right, I'm sorry. But that song, Driver's License,
Rodrigo?
Is it? I can't remember. I can't
like
remember.
nobody in my camp is even watching watching this.
But anyway,
It
we'll
just
just say that song Driver's License came out, and I remember listening to that song and I was like, man, that is never the way that would go down in the South. So I made my first skit sitting on my front porch where I was speaking to my imaginary sister Brenda, and this little girl was just driving up and down the dirt road, and I was like, there she goes again, Brenda, looking for little Johnny. And I used a crayon, and it's because I use a crayon as a cigarette prop.
Yeah.
I'm not a smoker in real life. And somebody at work had actually given me a cigarette, but it broke in my pocket on the way home. And my children were coloring at the table. And so I walked past the table and I was like, man, that crayon's kind of the same size as a cigarette. I took it, I broke it in half. I stuck a crayon in my mouth and I made that first skit, and it just took off.
Yes.
I was not expecting it. It blew my mind. I thought that when I first got 10,000 views, I was like, holy moly. And then it went from 10,000 to 100,000 to millions of views. And my following did the same thing. And
unbelievable.
It still blows my mind. Like, I feel like I'm just this little nobody from South Georgia. And, I get a lot of, oh my gosh, where's your accent from? How do you come up with this stuff? And it just took off.
Right. So, I have so many questions. Okay.
I'm ready.
So that was besides the Crisco one, that was your first crayon cigarette. So where is the imaginary sister Brenda from?
Okay. So she is a mixture of many family members that I have. I do have a sister in real life. Her name is Rachel. She's great. We're polar opposites. She's covered in tattoos. She's the most beautiful person you've ever seen in your life. But we're just, if you would never guess we were sisters.
Right.
But it comes from different, Brenda's character as a whole just comes from a mixture of different family members.
Yeah.
So that's where Brenda comes from.
And obviously your accent is 100% real.
100% real. The crayon does change it a little bit. I do get that question a lot. When I do have the crayon in my mouth, you have to really focus on keeping like this side of your mouth closed and then still letting air out. So it changes my accent just a little bit. But what y'all hear right now, this is really the way that I speak. And people ask where that's from. And because not everybody, even people in my family don't speak like this. People in my area don't necessarily speak exactly like I do. But I grew up with a lot of older generation South Georgia people. I still had great grandparents when I was younger. I still had until this last year, I still had almost all of my grandparents. Yeah. So I use different terminology in my skits that people just like, they love it. I'd say things like, well, I reckon, or, just different things that you don't hear a lot nowadays.
Right.
And I think that kind of resonates with people who also miss older generation loved ones.
Totally.
So I get messages all the time saying, man, you remind me of my grandparents or, my aunt back in the day or whatever.
Yes.
But this is 100% real, y'all.
Well, because your skits make it seem like you are back in the day. And I think that's something that most people, or a lot of people are longing for.
Right.
The good old days.
The good old days, absolutely.
And even though it's ironic that you're doing that and putting that on technology, but the good old days were really before technology.
Absolutely. And I don't think that people realize that, our grandparents came up in a time before all this. So I think that it's nice for even older. I do have a lot of older generation following on my stuff. And I just think that's what helped me is that, I bring back stuff that you don't hear a lot.
It's nostalgic.
Yeah. I get that so much. And I love that. I think that it made my grandparents happy when I started doing those skits. And I'm a big, I'm all about, I try to make my family proud, especially my grandparents and my parents and stuff like that. So, I'd never want to disappoint them in any way. And so I try to, positively bring back that nostalgia, but also bring in like a comedy aspect into it too, So.
Well, my sisters and I used to do this thing called the white trash dance. And we would pretend to have a cigarette, and it would be like this way, because I grew up singing in bars.
Okay.
My parents put my siblings and I on stage when I was 6 years old. with my older brothers.
I did not know that. I didn't know that you had been singing since you were little itty bitty.
Oh my gosh.
I did not know that.
Entire life. Yeah, I have 2 older brothers and 4 younger sisters. So I get it about the sister thing. And we grew up on a farm in Missouri. I'm a Midwest girl. But I married a Bama boy. So, and we got married when my kids were really, really young. They don't even remember our wedding. And we moved to Birmingham, where he's from, and lived in Mountain Brook. So my kids grew up in the South. I grew up in the Midwest, but very similar. And also the older generation, like Ewan's, like my grandparents would say, Ewan's kids come in here.
Yes.
It's time to eat. So like the kind of like the Southern Missouri thing is very similar. Yes. And I reckon fixin' too,
I say youngins all the time still.
Yeah,
like when I talk about my kids, I say youngins. And when I'm called, I'll be like, youngins, come inside. It's time for supper.
Right.
And we say supper. I don't know about y'all, but we say lunch is not lunch. Lunch is dinner. Lunch was always dinner and then supper time. So when I was little and I went to school and everybody was like, it's time for lunch, I'd be like, are y'all talking about dinner? And then all the fancy people were like, no, dinner is like later in the afternoon. And I'll be like, no, that's supper time. What are y'all talking about? You know, I was very uncultured. Okay. Very uncultured as a child.
It's not uncultured at all. It's just a difference in where you grow up. But
yeah.
And I'm from a really small town, 1,200 people. It's always been 1,200 people. And then we lived 20 minutes outside of town.
Gotcha. See, that's us.
Farm.
That's us. We've always lived 20 to 30 minutes outside of like town. Like if we needed to go get groceries, it was a 20 to 30 minute ride when I was a kid. You know, it wasn't just right down the road.
To this day, do you probably do this too? I always say we're going to town.
Yeah, we're going to town.
We're going to town. And so like when we moved to Mountain Brook, we were living like in town.
Right.
But I still would say, I'm going to town to get groceries.
Yeah, we still say that now.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, we're going to Walmart, we're going to town. You know, going to Dollar General, we're going to town. Mm-hmm. So
I love it. I love it. I mean, I swear it's like, or even doing this podcast, you know, technology is so great to see. Like, I love when I see those TikToks or Instagram reels of like, this is people in high school in 1985.
Yes. Such nostalgia. I do too. Nostalgia. And then you don't realize how much stuff has changed since then.
Right.
You know, and I think that, you know, sometimes social media gets a bad rap, but honestly, there's so much positivity with it as well. I know we talked about that earlier, but like you and I, there's no way that the universe would have lined up
for us to meet
if it was not for social media. And that still blows my mind. Honey, I had to ask, you know, I've had a couple different opportunities just this month in October. And that blew my mind to the point where I had to ask my agent, I was like, are they sure they have the right contact information? Like, are they sure? And he would be like, listen, you're the only hat wearing, crayon smoking person on TikTok that they know. So I think that they're talking about you. So
yeah.
But yeah, we would have never, there's no way, you know, I grew up blaring Suds in the Bucket with my sister and my brothers and stuff. So
thank you.
So this is like full circle for me.
So wait, how old are you?
I'm 35. I just turned 35. So I think I was probably 13 or 14 when that song came out.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, this is just full circle.
It's crazy.
And it is crazy. You could never have told me back then when I was blaring your music and singing out loud that I would be sitting here with you today across from you talking.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, there's so many talented people in the world. And like, so TikTok and Instagram are a way for funny comedians like you, talented people to be discovered.
And you'd never know about.
But like my children are musicians.
Right. I follow them.
Thank you.
I do.
And then Audrey, my daughter, is on TikTok.
Mm-hmm. TikTok is tough sometimes. TikTok is, I always say TikTok is bipolar because you're either going to post a video on there and it's going to go viral, or you're going to post a video on there and it's going to get 5 views. Like you never know with TikTok. So tell them don't sweat TikTok because, you know, it's a little crazy right now, especially. And then I haven't been very active this month. So like I posted something earlier, it got like 2,000 views, you know, and then tomorrow I'll post something, it'll get like 3 million views. You don't ever know,
it's
you know.
Crazy.
It is crazy. So
how many followers do you have?
I am up to 1.3 million, I think, on there.
Congratulations.
And thank you. Listen, I never could have dreamed it. I didn't start TikTok to get a big following. I never.
Why did you start?
I was just bored. Like you said, bored during COVID. And I really didn't gain a big following until I started the skits. I did little videos here and there, little things about like being a mom, just funny things about being a mom and stuff. And then all of a sudden I did that first skit that we talked about earlier, and people were like, part 2, part 3, part 4. And I'm a people pleaser. So I was like, all right. And then, this was not a dream of mine, which sounds crazy because there are so many people out there who are like, trying to make it big on social media, and they're out there hustling and stuff like that. But like I said earlier, I'm happy with my little life in Stilson, Georgia. And I was never trying to get big on social media. I don't consider myself famous. I always tell people I'm nobody special. I wake up in the morning and I put my pants on one leg at a time, just like everybody else does.
I totally feel the same way. I do not feel famous.
And that's crazy for you to say that because you are such a star on stage. I could never. I just started trying to do some stand-up comedy, honey, and it is so nerve-wracking. We just did a big show in Statesboro, Georgia, and I'm going to Corbin, Kentucky to the train station with Justin Stagner and Amanda Meadows, who plays Charlene, the Trailer Park Queen, and then Justin Stagner is Southern Grandpa. That's who he's known for. So, it's just this is surreal for me. I'm humbled. I'm like, this is not happening. So were you terrified
before the first show?
I was absolutely terrified when I tell you that I had never even held a microphone in my hand before. But I went out there and people laughed. They laughed. The very first show I did was in Starkville, Mississippi, and that was like 3 years ago. And after that show, I said I would never do another show again because of how nervous I was.
Right.
But we held a show in my hometown of Statesboro, Georgia, which is where we live now. And we did it to raise money for domestic violence, October's Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So I was like, you know what? I had a girl reach out to me, and she was like, listen, if it mean, she first off, let me explain that we do like a local Dancing with the Stars thing to raise money for a shelter in our hometown.
Okay. And
so she was one of the teams that was dancing, and their job as a team was to figure out a way to raise money for the domestic violence shelter. So Ashley Duvall is her name, and she reached out to me. She said, hey, I love you. I follow you on TikTok. She's like, I would love for you to come do a stand-up show to raise money. And I reached out to some people, Justin Stagner, Amanda Meadows, who are also pretty big on TikTok right now. And I think they're hilarious, and we've actually become pretty good friends, and they were like, absolutely, we'll do it. And so they came down, we did it, and I was like, domestic violence survivors have been through uncomfortable situations, and if they can go what they go through, then I can be uncomfortable on stage for a few minutes. You know what I mean? So we did that, and I was still nervous again, but I'm trying to get past my nerves. That was for a good cause.
So are you writing out what you're going to do in your set?
So let me tell you, all of my skits just come from this right here in my head at like 2 a.m. in the morning when I'm laying in the bed, and I'll think about something that's actually happened in my family to somebody. That's where all of my stuff comes from. People think that I just make this stuff up. No, 90% of my TikToks come from actual situations that have happened in my area or to me or my family.
Right.
So, I would just think of ideas, and I would say, maybe people would laugh at that, and I would write it down. And then like a week before the show, I just put those ideas together. And you can ask my husband, the day before the show and the day of the show, I literally paced back and forth in my house, nervous, honey, breathing heavy, like I had done run a marathon.
That's horrible.
Just trying, just so nervous that I was going to get up there and mess up. But I went out there and I didn't skip a line. I didn't miss a beat, and people laughed. So I'm going to try my hand at it. Maybe I'm better at stand up than I thought I was. But
so what is the pressure now? Like once you start, like I know what it's like to, be a celebrity and have to keep that going, and you like never want to slow down. And I'm like, we are currently trying to map out next year touring. For the last 4 or 5 years, I've been doing 70 or 80 dates a year, which is a lot. And
there's no way.
Country artists tend to do that. We go because we're kind of centrally located. So we are like weekend warriors. We go out on Wednesday night or Thursday night, come back Sunday morning or Monday morning. And but it is exhausting, and our shows are very high energy, over 90 minutes long.
I could never.
Oh, you could.
Listen, kudos to you, because I could.
No, you
never,
could if you.
Y'all.
If that
no,
was,
and I've had a lot of people reach out to me. I've had a lot of opportunities that I've turned down, for the sheer fact that I'm a mama,
right?
And my children are little right now, and they're 9 and 7. So I feel like this is the most important time in their childhood, and I explain that to people, and they're like, you know, you're in a situation that most people would kill for, dream of being in.
Yes.
Like, why aren't you doing more stuff? Why aren't you? And I'm a mom.
Yeah.
Like, and I value that a lot. I grew up with a very close knit family. We all did everything together. So, I want my kids to grow up like that. And I feel like if I'm off and I'm doing all these shows and I'm doing stuff, then I'm taking that away from them. You know, they're in school too. Like, we don't homeschool. Maybe it would be easier if we homeschooled. I could take them with me and stuff, but I'm just happy. Like I said earlier, I'm happy where I am in life right now. We're not struggling. We're comfortable. And to be very honest with you, I'm pretty shy in real life. People walk up to me in public that notice me, and I used to, I would lie. I would say, oh, no, that's not me. I must just look like her, or, you know, but I've got a little more comfortable speaking with people. In fact, I would have never been comfortable, like even being on this pot last year, I would have been like, oh no, I can't do that. Oh my gosh. But I'm a little more comfortable now. So I'll say, hey, you know, thank you for following me, you know, and people ask to take pictures, and it's so weird. And people ask for my autograph. I'm like, y'all, I am not that special. No, you cannot have an autograph. I'll take a picture, but you can't have my autograph.
If you could, well, and speaking of the kids, I was the same way. So my kids literally, I would have a baby, take about 4 weeks off.
Yeah.
We would all get back on the bus. And so they grew up on the bus.
Right.
They all learned to walk and talk and potty train, read, write, everything on the bus.
On the bus.
And so then when they started school, I just did weekends so that they could still come with me. But I was the same way. If I had to leave them and do this career, I would not be Sara Evans. I would not be
you know,
where I am, because there's no way I was going to leave them.
Motherhood is just such, and especially in today's world, I feel like, you know, the kids they need both parents, honestly. You know,
and listen, that never stops.
Yeah. Oh, honey.
Because mine are 20, 21, and 25, which is shocking to me. But I feel like they need you just as much.
Forever. I still need my mom. Are you kidding me? I'm 35, and my mom lives across the peanut field from me, honey. And I still, listen, they lived with us for about a year while they were building their house. And my grandpa, who he passed away in our home, but we took care of him after Christmas. And anyway, we were all kind of right there together. And then once my mom's house was finished, I cried. I woke up the morning that they moved out, and they had broken down their bed. And I literally stood in there as a 34-year-old woman and cried that my mama and her husband Andy were moving out, because you always need mama. You always need mama. You always need your grandma, your grandpa, daddy. You know, you need everybody.
You need everybody. Family is the most important thing in the world besides the relationship with God. It's family.
Absolutely.
Like, you know, and I agree with you. Motherhood is literally the best thing I've ever done. The only thing I care about. I care about it so much more than my career.
Absolutely.
So much more than
anything.
Money, anything. They're the best thing I've ever done.
It's the hardest and most rewarding job that you will ever do. You know,
and it's the most stressful, just in the sense that, you know, the Bible says, don't fear. Do not fear. 365 times the Bible says, do not fear. But it's so hard not to fear that something, you know, will happen. I mean, you just have to, and it only increases the older they get. Like, I'll never forget the first time my son, Avery, who's my oldest, he got his driver's license, and I stood at the window and watched him drive away for the first time. And I was just like, I believe this is the most pivotal aspect of parenting, is when your child turns 16, because
And you watch him drive
it's
away.
the first time he could go anywhere on his own by himself.
Yeah,
I was
making his own
dying.
decision. And that, you know, I think that's a good, what am I trying to say? Like a good
Example. Analogy.
Analogy. It's a good analogy of you, like, of right now I'm trying to raise my babies so that one day when they do get in that car and leave, like, they make good choices. They, you know, do what they're supposed to do while they're gone. They don't let outside influences change the way that they were raised and stuff like that, you know.
You want me to tell you what I think is the best way to raise a kid like that? Like when they get to that age. So obviously you got to get them in their formative year, like between birth and 5. They have to obey you, respect you.
Crucial period of time.
Crucial. I mean, you've got to be there. You've got to be with them. And even though, I mean, we were like lugging through airports and on the bus and just traveling over, but we were together.
Right. They were with you.
They were with me. Absolutely. And they were not with anybody else. They were not being cared
just
for by somebody
that you
else.
don't. That's a big thing for me too. Is I don't trust everybody with my kid. Like some people would just leave their kids.
Well,
with
nobody
anybody.
loves your kids like you do.
Exactly, and nobody's going to take care of them like I do. In fact, my biggest fear as a mom is dying, and then whoever's taking care of my kids does not love them like I love them.
Same. I mean, it's like that's another word. I mean, you try so hard not to worry, but they are like, you know, they're your heart walking around, and you're, you know. So anyway, that's such a negative way to look at it.
No.
So you get in between birth and 5 to honor, obey, respect you, But I never yelled at my kids. I never screamed at them, or I think I read a book or something when they were little. So I always try to really respect them, and especially my son.
Yeah.
So after he turned about 13 or 14, I really stopped mothering him in the same way. Right. I was never like, no, no, you're not, you know, because I'm like, you're a young man.
Right.
So I didn't want him to believe that a relationship should be that. You know what I mean?
No, I understand.
It's like how women choose men based on how they were with their daddies.
Right.
You know, same with mothers and sons. And the mother-son connection is so fun and special and sweet.
It is.
It is with your daughters too, but it's just different. But yeah, I just never yelled at them. I never screamed or raised my voice. And so like when Avery was a senior in high school, he would call and be like, what time do you want me to come home? And I would just be like, I mean, I don't know, what time do you think is reasonable?
Right.
Instead of like, you know,
you
11 or you be home or you study.
Home.
I never cared about school. I didn't care about anything except they know I love them. They know they're safe.
Right.
I'm a soft place for them to land. Their teacher can get on to them about school, but at home it is love, laughter, food.
You want them to always be able to look back and come back to that. You know, you want them to come back to that. But I'm not going to sit here and lie. I yell at my kids.
I just,
not in a sense that like they're adults. I don't necessarily. I get stern with my kids. Maybe that's what I should say.
I would get stern with them.
I get stern with my kids.
Yours are still little too.
They are still little, and you know, I'm really firm on the aspect of, like you were talking about school. I want them to do their best in school, but what makes my heart happy is when I go for parent-teacher conferences and they tell me Landon is so well-mannered and this, that, and other, you know, or Chesney is just the sweetest child and she treats all of her friends with respect.
Right.
You know, that to me, I would rather hear that than me sit down and them say, hey, your kid makes straight A's, but he's a little turd head in class. Right. Or, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
To me, that's important.
He's a bully or he's...
And when I raise my children, I try to, I'm stern with them, but I need them to know that like the world is cruel. The world isn't always going to go your way. Sometimes things are going to happen in life that you know, you're going to have to grit your teeth and just work through it. Right. So I want them to know that Mama means business right now, but they also know that I love them and that they can talk to me about anything that they need to talk to me. And like I said, they're only 7 and 9, but like I still reiterate that almost daily to them. Like,
that's awesome.
I'm here for you if you need me. If something bad happens at school, don't be afraid, or in life, don't be afraid to come to me, you know, and ask me or tell me, you know. So
I have adult friends who are afraid to tell their parents that they had plastic surgery.
yeah, I do too.
Or they got a tattoo or whatever it may be. Adult friends. And I'm like, that is not the relationship that I will ever have with my children. My children tell me everything.
And that's the way I want my children to be. I want them to tell me everything. Like,
and they
trust
can't
me.
do it if they don't feel like you're a safe place.
Right.
Now, daddy might be different because he needs to be a little bit scarier.
Right.
But yeah.
And he is. They know that if mama, you know, says something or promises some kind of, you know, y'all are going to get in trouble, they know that most likely by the time we get home or the end of the day, mama's going to have forgot about it. She's not going to keep it. But now if daddy says, hey, y'all are in trouble and X, Y, and Z is fixing to happen, you can bet that is happening. And they know that. And that's why they know that they can get away with more stuff with me,
of course,
than they can with my husband.
Which I think
but that's okay. You know,
good.
I think it's a good balance. Mm-hmm. It's a good balance of things.
It's a great balance. It's a great balance. Yeah. But it's the only thing that I care about. So I understand what you're saying about, like, now you're famous, which I'm sure is, like, again, like you said, is so weird.
It is, because I don't even think that. But, you know, and when people say that, I laugh, just like I just laughed when you said that, because I just feel like I feel like I am just still this little nobody who lives
I do
in
too.
Georgia.
It never goes away. I feel like the most normal. Well, I am very normal. And as an artist, because, you know, I'm a songwriter and I'm supposed to be weird, but I'm not. I'm so normal and but I was raised on a farm. I worked my butt off on the farm.
And that goes
such a long way.
Did. That goes such a long way.
Yes.
You know, in life in general.
I was not great about making my kids do chores because we were always traveling.
On the road, yeah.
Always on the road. I did always have a nanny with me to help because who's going to watch them while I'm on stage. But, you know, we were all on the bus together. So I think that's one of the reasons we're so close. But then it turns out that my son is a neat freak. Like, he keeps the neatest house. And every time we go over there,
I could never.
His dishes are always clean, his bedroom. So
that's my husband. My husband, that's another balance thing. He's OCD about things. He puts things back exactly in the place that they went. Not me, honey. I got clothes everywhere. And on my side, if you walk into our bedroom, you know exactly which side of the bed is mine and which side of the bed is his.
So you're not a neat freak?
No, not at all, honey. Not at all.
What about Brenda?
Brenda don't give two... I can't say that on this podcast. Hold on, let me rephrase it. She don't give two dimes about nothing, honey. She don't even know where she's going to lay her head to sleep at night. It might be at the county jail.
What is wrong with Brenda? Like,
Brenda's just an outlaw. Brenda does not care about anything on my TikToks. She is always kind of on the run. She always has bench warrants out for her arrest.
Right.
She steers clear of the law. Brenda just don't care. Brenda will pick up a man in the Dollar General parking lot and not give two dimes about nothing, okay?
She's just very dysfunctional.
She's dysfunctional. She does not live by any rules but her own.
Right.
And I have to get her out of trouble all the time. Bail. Me and Meemaw have to come bail her out of jail all the time. Are you
always in shock at what she gets herself into? Are you just used to it?
Listen, I think I'm used to it by now.
Yeah.
And you know, I've added some more characters on throughout this time that I've been on there. You know, I have my crazy cousin Trisha, who is now Brenda is a writer. Let me explain Brenda now. I love Brenda. Brenda is my ride or die. She's gonna be there for me if I need her. But then my cousin Trisha, that's on my TikToks, she's just trash. I always joke around about her. Her mama should have named her Trasha because she ain't nothing but trash, honey. We don't like Trisha, and we don't like my next next door neighbor, Arlene, who lives beside me on the dirt road. So I've kind of added some characters over the years to kind of keep things, like everything, you got to keep up with stuff. You got to change. So
yes,
not only do I do the skits about Brenda and my neighbor, I also try to find hot topics in today's world news. I
there's
try
a lot of them.
Yes, I've got a P Diddy. I've got a P Diddy skit coming out because that's pretty hot right now as we speak. So I've got that. I try to do skits about Mima, and I work with different companies. That's another thing that TikTok has opened up for me, is the opportunity to monetize off of different companies wanting me to advertise for them.
Right.
So
that's what blows my mind.
So companies will pay big money if you have a following on social media. So that also blows my mind, because I come from a family that is full of hardworking blue collar people.
Same.
They work with their hands. They work hard. Everything they have, they've worked hard for. So for me to just get online and make a 60-second video for a company and make X amount of money still blows my mind.
Yes.
So, but I always tell companies that reach out to me, I tell them that people come to my TikTok, Instagram, my Facebook, YouTube, whatever. They come to my page to see comedy, number one.
Right.
So if I'm going to work with you and I'm going to advertise your product, it's going to be comedy related. There's going to be comedy commentary, because I don't want to drive people away because they think I'm just trying to make money off of companies.
Well, I love, my favorite ones are the ones that I get tricked by. Like, it's a skit.
I try to do that.
Yeah,
I start out normal, and people don't understand that you actually have to be a little smart,
right?
To do comedy. Like, you have to really take
comedy and brilliance go hand in hand.
You have to take concepts and mash them together in your mind in a way that's going to make people laugh, make sense, and then create. Yes. Yeah. So, when companies reach out to me, they'll say, we'd like you to, and I tell them that. I tell them that, and I tell them, send me whatever product you want me to advertise, but if I use it and it's crap, I'm going to tell people it's crap. Like, I will never, if y'all see me advertise for a company, what I'm telling you about that product or that company is tried and true, because I will never, ever, ever stoop that. I don't care if they are paying me $1 million.
Yeah, you're not going to lie.
I don't care. I do not care. I won't do it, because that's my name. And in my family, your name and your word it's important.
That's right.
It's like a handshake where I come from. You shake somebody's hand, you say something, you mean it. So if y'all see me advertising anything, y'all know that it's tried and true.
It's sad how the world has gotten so far away from that concept, where it's just like, your word is your bond. Let's shake on it, or look me in the eye and tell me something, promise me something.
Few and far between.
Gosh, I mean, it's just so like,
the world has just changed so much.
The world sucks right now.
It does. It does.
It's going to get better, though. Don't worry.
Gosh, we hope. For my kids' sake, I really hope so.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and it's sad, especially like we're talking about the difference of where we are in parenting. But, 20-somethings just kind of, I feel bad for them, because they don't feel like they'll ever be able to do what we've done.
Absolutely. And how about the dating world for that age group right now? Like, it's not like when you and I were growing up, like, you had to meet somebody at school, meet somebody at church, meet somebody. You kind of met people in your community
just
that you
randomly.
Now with social media, it's like you can just, there's so many dating websites and stuff, it blows my mind how dating works. Now, like, I still have cousins and family members that aren't married, they're my age and younger, but like, they tell me stories about their dating and stuff, and it's just not like, my husband and I, this year we'll be together for 20 years. I'm 30. We were high school sweethearts.
Yes.
I have never been with anybody else but him. He has never been with anybody else but me. And so to look at like our relationship and how long we've been together and how we started out and how my kids are probably going to find somebody,
Yeah.
I'm like, man, that blows my mind.
I don't know. I feel very positive, and I feel like there's a major shift, to in so many human beings, just, I feel like all over the world, are longing to get back to hold on. I hear
Yeah, they must be coming to get Brenda.
I hear an alarm.
I just heard the sirens, honey. They're coming. I told everybody on TikTok earlier, I said...
Or Trisha.
I said, me and Brenda done come over up here to Tennessee, but I forgot she wasn't supposed to cross state lines because she's still on probation. That's probably the law coming to get her. So who called the law on Brenda?
Well... They'll never be able to find her in here.
So we're just gonna hide her behind these fancy curtains behind us, honey.
She's fine. Yeah. And I have people that I know in the police department.
That's what I'm talking about.
So I can help.
So if I get like drunk and disorderly tonight, or Brenda gets, we just call Sarah. We say, I know Sarah Evans. You gonna come get us out?
Yeah. Well, okay. I'll give you the name of my manager because I might be asleep.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
But but I do feel like there's a generation of a major longing, and that's my son's generation, to get back to a lot of those old fashioned ways and values. Yep. You know, because it got a little crazy there for a while, and it still is. But going back to TikTok, that's why I feel like you said, it's good and bad, because I find like my algorithm is like Christian stuff and lots of decorating.
You sound like my mom.
Looking at houses.
My mom's just like that. Oh my goodness.
I love looking at houses.
She's such a good decorator. If you ever need like somebody to come decorate,
Is
my
she
mom,
great?
Yes. Oh my goodness, she's great.
I love that. Now, what did your parents do?
So my mom and dad are divorced. But my dad is a welder, pipe fitter, has always done stuff like that. And then my mom was a stay-at-home mom with us for a long time. But now she's kind of like an office manager at the company. I don't know if I'm like not saying that right, but she's just worked kind of odd and end jobs or whatever. Right. But for the most part, she stayed home and raised us most of our childhood. So she's a homemaker, great homemaker. Like I said, she decorates like nobody you have ever seen. But just
like, what is her style?
Southern. She does Southern, but she could do anything. Like, she kind of changes it up, honestly, like through the years, like, you know, like 1 year she's farmhouse style, and then the next year she's, you know, whatever. I'm not I have a little bit of her like I put up like 22 Christmas trees at Christmas time, like my entire house. Yeah.
Well, really? 22?
Yes, I swear to you. And like my mom, you can ask my husband, he's sitting over there, honey, he will tell you that our entire house will be, and my little boy, he's over there shaking his head.
He's so cute.
But my mom's like that too. 1 year she seriously put up 28 Christmas trees. They even had one in their pool. Like,
I feel that's
crazy.
A little psychotic, but go ahead.
And they all have different themes. Like my mom's, not mine, but my mom would put up that many Christmas trees. We always start on November 1st. We have to, because we put up so many. But we start
2 weeks. You've got to start.
I'm talking the day after Halloween, honey. We start bringing out the Christmas stuff.
Okay.
And so she puts up all these trees, and she'll do different themes. It's not even like she'll have a Santa Claus tree, a Tinkerbell tree. She'll have, I mean, honey, she goes all out at Christmas time, but that's like her niche.
That's her thing.
That's her niche. People come and look at her house every year. It's crazy.
Amazing. What about outside? Is it like,
so that's her husband, Andy, God bless his soul. Yes. She comes up with an idea every year, and he makes it happen.
That reminds me of Steel Magnolias.
Yeah.
Remember that when she what's the girl's name that says, "Nobody move my contact," which is so funny because I just did an episode where I said that same thing.
I cannot remember
Steel
what
Magnolias.
Her name is. I cannot remember what, sitting here. It's like I'm on the spot.
Dolly Parton hires her. How do we not know this? That is terrible.
And I'm sitting here. Do not put this in the podcast.
Of Clarice and
Weezer.
Yeah, Weezer. But anyway, that girl.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Decorating, and I took all the baby Jesuses and made them into little mini mangers, and she's making her fiance hang up all the lights, and
that is my mom right there. And every year he gets out there and doesn't question her, doesn't complain, just gets out there and does it. So God bless Andy.
I love that. God bless Andy.
Yeah.
Well, no, I don't start till the day after Thanksgiving.
And some people do. And some people, I get a lot of hate for the people are like, but
Okay.
it's too early. It
I'm
ain't even
so
Thanksgiving.
glad you brought that up.
And I'm like, why can't we be merry for 2 months instead of 1? It's just more merriness.
Here's my
Why does it
question.
matter?
Why do people get angry
Over stuff like that.
over stuff like that, especially the early decorating?
It
Why does that
ain't
bother
your
people?
house. It ain't your house. That's what I tell them. Go decorate your house how you want to. And that
Right.
goes with everything in life.
Everything.
Everything in life.
It's a free country.
Any topic that you could ever think of, I use that same thinking
Yeah.
behind it. I don't care who you marry, honey. I don't care if you decorate your house for Easter in January. You know why? Because that's your life. That's not my life.
Right.
I'm not living your life. You are. So
We
if that
all
makes you
can't think
happy,
alike. Yeah.
if that makes you happy, then I'm happy for you.
Right.
You know, and I don't know why everybody can't think like that.
I have 2 little dogs, and we live in a house, and it's like on 4 acres, and it's beautiful, and it's got all, original trees and just gorgeous. And it's an old white home and beautiful, but there is a street. It's a huge yard, but there is a street.
Right.
So I posted a picture of my little dogs. It's like 3 years ago. And they were looking out the front door, and it was just so cute. You know, how they just sit there and like, so 90% of the comments are like, great. 10% are chastising me for having shock collars on them. And I'm like, it's better than them running to the street and getting hit by a car.
Absolutely.
By the way,
Absolutely.
I got hit by a car when I was 8.
Oh my
So
goodness.
I know how it feels.
Right, so you're
I
just
should have
like,
had a shock collar on me. And I would have been safe. But
Right.
no.
They probably would chastise your parents, but you'd have been safe.
But I would have been safe.
You'd have been safe.
I got hit by a car going 75 miles an hour. I was crossing the highway in front of our farm, and it broke both legs, both arms, severe
way.
concussion, unconscious for 3 days.
I have
in the
never
hospital for 6
clutched my
weeks.
pearls before ever on camera, but I clutched my pearls for you.
It was unbelievable. I have 4 near-death experiences. I was in a plane crash. I fell in a well when I was
My
little. So
goodness.
God, like, definitely
It's a wonder we're sitting here today talking.
It is. I mean, God has always been right beside me, but also probably is constantly like, Sara again.
I never knew that.
Sara again. I got to pluck her out from, getting hit by a car.
I never knew any of that about
Yeah,
you.
I
Have
was
you ever
in traction
spoken about that before?
with this, like, for 6 weeks in a hospital bed and this full cast on my arms.
Oh, my goodness.
6 weeks. So I'm incredibly claustrophobic because of that.
Oh, I bet you are.
Yeah.
I bet you are.
Have you ever broken a bone?
No.
You're so lucky.
And I am.
Knock on wood.
Yeah, well, listen, and I grew up playing every sport you could think of. I was
Same.
very rough and tough. We were yard kids. People, I say that in my stand-up. I talk about being a yard youngin'.
Yeah.
Barefoot and how, don't let me take my shoes off and challenge me to a foot race because
Right.
you let me take my shoes off, I'm going to beat you. I don't
Right.
care if you're an Olympic runner. Like, challenge me to a foot race, let me take these shoes off, honey. I'm going to beat you barefoot, okay?
Absolutely.
But we were yard youngins. We were rough and tough, but I don't think I've ever, not looking back. Adam, have I ever broken anything? I don't think so.
It's amazing. I mean, I've broken so many bones and literally have had so many near-death experiences, but that just means, I don't know. I don't know what it means. It's either just random or God is constantly
He's trying to keep you in check, honey.
trying
That's
to
what
keep
that
me in
is.
check, teaching me
He's like, hey,
things.
look here. You need to slow down. That's
Yeah.
why. Maybe he's just telling you to slow down so you could rest in the bed. Yeah, if you got hit by that car,
That's right.
He said you just need to rest a little bit. So that's
After that experience, though, if I broke a bone now and I had to wear a cast, I would probably die.
as an adult.
Because I'm so claustrophobic. Like, I would want that cast off.
Yes.
And I play tennis and ski and basketball and sport. I mean, I'm an athlete too. I love to play sports.
Oh, good.
But I don't want to break
Another
ever
bone.
again.
Oh, yeah. No, I couldn't imagine.
No, I don't want to be in a cast.
Keep my fingers crossed.
But what I was going to say was, back to the criticizing me for the shock collars on my dogs. And I'm like, I'm keeping them safe. Are you tempted to, like, do you get on Reddit?
sometimes, but not a lot. Like sometimes I find myself over there, like if I ask Google a question, it'll kind of take me to Reddit and I'll kind of go through the threads and stuff like that and look. But no, I'm not. Were you on Reddit? Like you?
No.
Okay.
I don't look.
Okay.
Because I posted something the other day, and that Ozempic.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody's doing that.
Everybody.
So I just recently lost like 25, 30 pounds because I needed to. I had a few years of extreme stress, hormone changes, just not really being careful. So about a year ago, I think it was before I was going to be inducted into the Opry.
Okay.
I was
Congratulations, by the way. That was awesome.
Thank you.
That was so awesome. I watched that.
They waited so long to make me a member. I thought I already was a member.
Like, I don't understand why. Like, when you posted that, I was like...
It was crazy.
She wasn't already in there? Like, I honestly said that in my head. I was like, hold up now.
Well, the Bible tells us not to be prideful, but I was a little prideful. I was so prideful, I was almost like, I don't even want it. You waited too
I was just to say something.
Opry, thank you very much. I do want it.
Amen.
But it did take a long time. I will say that.
It's about time.
It's about time. Anyway, all that to say. So I just started dieting, playing a lot of tennis, I posted a picture of myself the other day sitting on the bed on the bus, and it just said on the road. And it was just the angle or whatever, but I guess I looked skinny in that angle.
Yeah.
People are so mean.
The internet is cruel.
You need to eat a cheeseburger, or she's on Ozempic. She has to be on Ozempic. I would tell you.
Listen, and if you posted a picture from like a different angle for some reason and you looked a little heavier than normal, it would have went the other way.
That's right.
So, and I've been very lucky that for the most part, I get like all of my stuff is 98% of the stuff I get or comments I get are positive.
Right.
People are just laughing.
Yes.
But there's always that little 2 or 3% on there. I can't even say, but this month, especially, I don't know why, but there were 3 or 4 people that I monetized off of, by the way. I will monetize off of the hate comments because I will make videos replying to those hate comments. I
love those.
And I remain classy in those, but I go about it in a passive aggressive way.
Oh yeah, that's the best.
The whole bless your heart thing. And I will monetize off of those people. And I will say right now, if you were any of those 3 or 4 people that did that, I made over $1,000 off of y'all on social media.
Yes.
Just
from
replying
their
back.
hatefulness.
Yeah, just because they wanted to come on and be,
Why? I mean, why did they do it?
It goes back to what we were talking about before, the whole like, why can't you just be happy? Like, live your life, let me live my life,
Right.
Like, and social media is full of jealous people too.
Yes.
There are a lot, I can tell you from dealing with several different creators that there's hate in that TikTok world. It's like a big high school. My niche is Southern comedy, Southern white trash, dirt road comedy, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
And there are also other people in TikTok land and social media land that do that. I'm out here rooting for them. I hope that the Danae Hayes. I love Danae Hayes. If you don't follow her, you have to follow.
Okay,
Danae.
I need to. You're
Please
gonna have
follow
to tell me some
the
people.
Justin Stagners of TikTok, the Amanda Meadows.
So what does Amanda Meadows do?
She plays Charlene, the Trailer Park Queen. She wears the mullet, the blonde mullet, and honey, I will show her to you.
She is hilarious.
She's
exactly
so her and Justin Stagner. They're the ones
she
that I
play the
did.
smoker?
Yes, so she
Her
does.
voice is real like.
No, that's
Who's that?
Oh man, what's her name? Lord, I cannot remember. She
And
was
she's
just on
always
Trailer
got,
Tales. Something Sue Dillon, Sue somebody.
Yeah, she's got that low
But
smoker voice.
them Chelsea Lynn. I love Chelsea Lynn and Libby Higgins.
Okay, you're gonna have to tell me this.
I will, honey. They are all, but all of us kind of have the same comedy niche, but we all have original ideas. Just because we came from the South or the trailer park or whatever, we all kind of do a same general comedy, but we all use original ideas,
Right.
and I love that. And I'm out here rooting for them. Like, I'm happy for anybody doing well in life. But some people are not like that on social media. Some people cannot, they're not out here rooting. They're out here saying, oh, well, she does Southern comedy too, so she's copying me.
Right.
Or she's no good. Her stuff is trash. Or, some people are just starting out. We all had to start somewhere.
Right.
I try to look at things the way that my grandparents taught me. Everybody's in different, these different areas of life right now. And you don't know who's struggling. You don't know what people are going through.
Right.
So,
even the cyber bullies.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, our job as humans, and I think that God just wants us to be nice to one another. I tell my kids that it costs 0 cents to be kind to somebody.
That's right.
You never know what they're going through. Just be kind. That's, as a mom, that's all I can ask for my kid. Be kind.
Well, do you know Ben Fuller? He's got that, if I got Jesus,
maybe.
I got all
yes,
that. He's got that song.
Yes.
And I wanted him to come on the podcast just because I heard that song. And I was like, you're amazing.
Absolutely.
And we were talking about that, how that is really all that Jesus spoke of.
Yeah. He just wants us to be kind to one another.
Just be kind, like love your neighbor as yourself. And,
and stop judging one another so hard. Goodness gracious.
So hard.
Yes.
Right.
People are what's the Bible verse that says the first to cast a stone?
Right.
Just stop.
The woman at the well.
Right.
They all were ready to stone her.
Yeah.
And Jesus was like, okay, who of you is without sin?
Absolutely. But we all sin.
And that's why the church, I hate it, because the church is not a building. It's not. It's the body of Christ.
It's not.
People.
And I do some religion skits that I have gotten a bit of hate on, but I don't. It's not. I would never hate on religion or make fun. I'm a Christian, so
yeah.
But I kind of do this comedy where I make fun of different denominations.
Yes.
So I grew up in the South.
And that is funny.
Yes. And I grew up, one set of my grandparents were Baptist. I'm talking hardcore, just like Southern independent Baptist.
Yeah.
And then one set of grandparents kind of visited Pentecostal Church of God. And then my best friend went to a Methodist church. So I've been to these different denominations, and I've heard the gossip and stuff. So I bring that into my comedy. In fact, on stage, I brought that on stage the other night, and people lost their mind. They thought that was the funniest thing, just making fun of different, like I joked around about, thank y'all for being here. If you know me from my Baptist days, don't worry. I am not going to tell the preacher I saw y'all out here drinking tonight.
Right.
Just different things like, your secret's safe with me. And then I asked the Pentecostals, I was like, for safety reasons, y'all cannot be running up and down the aisles and jumping the chairs at tonight's show, So just different things like that. But I use that in my TikTok comedy.
That's awesome.
And for the most part, people will come in there and say, oh my gosh, I'm Pentecostal, and that was the funniest thing I've ever heard. But I get some people that yell blasphemy in the comments. And
but
I'm
that's
like,
not.
Jesus wants us to laugh. That's what I tell people.
Well, yeah. And also, I have like a real problem with organized religion. I'm not a fan.
I agree.
I'm not a fan.
I agree.
I'm a fan of Jesus.
Yep.
I'm a fan of the Father and his son, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Spirit.
Yep.
And he died on the cross for our sins. And our sins are forgiven. So when anytime a church starts making rules that are gray,
yep.
If it's not black and white,
and it's
in the
not
Bible,
every church. It's not every church, but I think it's a lot of churches. I think that churches they're too political.
Blasphemous.
Yeah, churches are a political organization. Sometimes, and it's not every church. I want to make that very clear on this podcast, so y'all don't come to me. It's not every church. I've been to some great little churches.
Yes,
and I feel like small town churches are really good. But I feel like once you get these mega churches, like those huge mega churches on TV, and I'm not going to name any names or whatever. I don't want to get sued.
I agree with you though.
But the mega churches, to me, is all about money.
I don't think a preacher should ever be rich.
I mean, you got preachers living in like 7-story houses with 3 jets, and then
there are people in the community
that are starving.
But you're right. I mean, it's very akin to politics.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like a politician goes to Washington to work for us. Mm-hmm. They should never leave that office rich. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. And also they should leave that office and go back they're only supposed to go there and be there for a time.
Right. It's such a hot topic, but then, people want to get mad if you talk about politics online.
Yeah, you can't talk about it at all. But I'm just saying,
I keep it out. Yeah, but you're right. And that's one thing, you will never hear me talk about politics in my comedy.
You'll get killed
on TikTok, because people will come on and she must be a so-and-so supporter, or she must be a so-and-so.
Yeah.
And you don't know who I'm voting for. That's all I'm going to say.
You can't say a word. You can't say anything, or
y'all will never know. And people just assume, you speak a certain way, and people assume who you're voting for, and it just gets messy. So I just stay out of it.
Me too.
I stay out of it. But I just
think that, like, people in places like that of serving the community, like if you're going to be a preacher and preach the word of God, you should not,
I understand what you're saying. I understand exactly what you're saying.
How you can become a multi-millionaire.
You should get, I feel like you should get paid for what you're doing.
Totally.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you should get paid. Time is not free.
And what's reasonable for where you're living.
Right. But I don't agree with these preachers who are out there making millions of dollars, and then there's people in their congregation that are literally giving their last $5 to the church for tithing.
Yeah,
and then they're going home and they can't pay their light bill or their water bill, or they're going, you know what I mean?
That's right.
It's just...
and the rules, like, if you...
And every church is different with the rules.
And every church is different.
Pentecostals.
And that's what Jesus was so against.
You got to wear, ankle length skirts.
Why?
And don't cut your hair and this, that, and other. And then you go to another church who's very much like come as you are. We welcome everybody here. And that's the way it should be. It should be come as you are.
Yeah.
We don't care if you're a drug addict. We don't care if you just hit the stripper pole last night. As long as you're here in church on Sunday morning.
Exactly.
That's all we care about. You know what I mean? I know I just joked about that, but that's the way it should be. There should be no judgment from the congregation. And that goes back to speaking. You don't know what somebody's going through in life.
That's
maybe last night they were out sinning and they got home and come to this realization, I'm going to start going to church.
Today.
And then they came, and then
100%.
That's how people get driven away from the church too. Judgment, people judging.
Absolutely. Some people feel like they got to get to a certain place of being good before they start going to church.
Yep. We could do a whole podcast on just me talking about that. And that's why I'm very picky about like where we choose to go to church as a family.
I don't have a church right now.
My kids, like that's us too. We don't either. And it's because I look back at certain things that I was taught and that I listened in church that I look back on now as an adult and I go, man, that was not right. Or, that was taking the Bible a little more literal than it should have been taken. And so, as a mom, again, my job is to raise my kids up. And I do believe that, my kids need God in their lives, but I'm very picky about where,
for sure.
It's with anything else.
It's just Jesus. And I think if there's like any human being who says, I'm the conduit between you and God, no. No.
Nope.
Like you go through me to get to God, no.
Yeah, it's in your heart. It's all in your heart. That's
you go through Jesus to get to God.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but that's a tangent. So go back.
I'll be forgetting what we're talking about, so I'm glad you're here.
Well,
what were you even started on?
But I was just going to ask you, so like you mentioned that you had an agent.
Yes, that was new for me. But go ahead.
Tell me about that. So like, do all big TikTokers have agents? I
would have thousands of emails from different agencies, and I was always like, I'm not special enough for an agent. Like I don't, I was just having fun with it. I felt like if I ever got an agent, it would get too serious for me and then I wouldn't have fun with it anymore.
Right.
But going back to Justin Stagner, he was with an agency for probably about a year and he called me one day and we've turned into good friends. Him and my husband get along well. His wife Courtney's great, but so we talk like every day, and you've got to follow him. But
I will if I'm not already.
But he called me and he said, "Hey, my agent is looking to pick up another talent, another TikTok, Instagram, whatever." And at first I told him no. I was like, not doing it. But then he broke it down for me. He said, well, this is how it goes, XYZ. They can get you bigger money deals or whatever, but you decide. I can decide who I want to work with, who I don't want to work with, how many companies I want to work with. I don't have to work with any companies if I don't want to. They let me do my own thing. They don't control anything. They do everything for me, answer my email, everything.
Yeah.
And he explained all that. And I was like, that sounds pretty sweet. Because again, I'm a mama. And I was like, that sounds pretty good. And he had already been with them for like a year, and I trusted his judgment on it. So then I did. I signed with an agency probably 9 months ago, I think. Mm-hmm. And it was the best thing I ever did.
Oh, good.
It was the best thing I ever did.
So they're bringing you more stuff and connecting you more.
My agent, shout out to Agent Williams. He keeps me in line. And I need that because we spoke about me not being an organized person.
Right.
I need that in my life. And he keeps me in line. He texts me. He'll call me. It's the best thing that I ever did.
That's
as far
great.
as my TikTok career and all that good stuff. So
that is amazing. So what is the pressure what is your schedule? Like how many times a day are you posting? Or do you have to?
I don't. So here's the thing is, like we were going back to having fun. I don't put myself on a schedule. I did not gain 1 million followers sticking to a schedule. I have always just tried to have fun with it. I don't put any pressure on myself at all. I just don't. Now, when the only thing that my agency ever asked me to do was start posting to Instagram more.
Okay.
This month, I have been so bad about posting anything because we had Hurricane Helene hit us.
Yes.
We had the show. I came up here and did a country music video with Casey Tyndall, which also blew my mind.
That's
which
amazing.
Is a full circle thing. They got in touch with me, and that was the person that I was like, "Are y'all sure y'all got the right?" That was probably the funnest thing that I ever did in my life. Shooting that country music video with her, and I cannot say the name of the song, but I think it's going to be so great. It went along with the comedy that I do on TikTok. So we had a blast with it. I was right beside her during most of the video, and I cannot thank her enough. So Casey, if you're listening to this, I love you. She's great. If y'all don't follow her, please God, follow her. But she was great. But this month was so busy for me, just out of nowhere. I went from just posting on TikTok to bam, 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 September. So many people all of a sudden started contacting me. Hey, will you come here to do a show? Will you come be in this music video? Will you come be on this podcast and this podcast? And it was overwhelming to say that I wasn't a little overstimulated thinking about everything, because
I bet
it went from just me, down there doing my own thing to we have been to a lot of different places just this month. And that blows my mind. That, honey, no.
You've reached fame.
I still don't think of it like that. I still don't think of it like that. But
you have. Think about it. You have 1 million followers. So how many people are actually seeing your videos?
My stuff, it still it blows my mind that but I have been slow posting this month, so my stuff is kind of slowed up, but I've got to hit. I said after this podcast when we got back home, I got to hit the ground running again.
Yes.
So but I try to post at least one skit a week, is what I try to do. Most of the time I post 2 a week. I normally post on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So and people ask me all the time, how do you come up with all this stuff? Like, you literally do a different skit with a different topic, and I just, like I said earlier, I try to stay with hot topics that are in the social, media world right now.
Right.
And then just stuff from my past. So
I love that. Well, we forgot to tell everybody how we met online.
Yes. So you did a Christmas show in Charleston. Well, no, first off, we met online because you followed me.
Yes.
2 years ago?
Yeah.
I was flabbergasted. I did a skit. I cannot remember which skit it was, but I was scrolling through my just comments and my notifications, and I see this little notification that said, Sara Evans followed you, with the little blue checky by your name. And because there are people, copycats out there who are not the real person they say they are. There's tons out there. People do the same thing to people are monetizing off of my stuff right now, and I can't do anything about it.
You can't.
But when I tell you I almost hit the floor because, like I told you earlier, you were a crucial part of my childhood growing up.
That's amazing. That makes me feel old too. But
and we didn't have a lot of money growing up. So for me to say that I had your CD, is saying something, because we didn't have money we didn't have no CD money, honey. Okay,
right.
But for us to have your CD, that meant something. So just know that
does mean a lot.
But I seen your name. And I was like, there's no way that the Sara Evans follows me. And then I made the skit that I tagged you in with Brenda. And I was like, Brenda, you ain't never going to believe who just followed us, honey. You know? And I remember I told my whole family, I was like, Sara Evans, you're all peasants to me now, you know?
Right,
Sara Evans. I'm just joking. I didn't really say that. But so that's how. And then I took a shot in the dark, and we came to see you in Charleston this past year. You did a Christmas special with Olivia, your daughter, who did awesome, by the way. She sounded great with her friend, and everybody. I loved that concert. We came up there.
Is still my backup singer, but Livy's not on the road anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, y'all did such a great job. And we love that. And I actually was like, I'm going to take a shot in the dark and I'm just going to send her a message. And I sent you a message, and then you thought you actually didn't see it until a couple weeks ago, or maybe a month ago.
Yeah, because I never checked the TikTok.
Yeah, and you just happened to be reading your stuff, and you thought that I meant that we were coming to see you like now, and you were like, I feel so silly because this, and then we started talking about the podcast, and you were like, I'd love you to come, and I was like, oh, there's no way, girl. I called my whole family.
Yeah, I thought you were like getting ready to come and see.
Yeah, and you were like, I'll get you some tickets and this, that, and the other. And I was like, well, we already came. And then I was like, no way.
Well, did I post your post about me? I think I did.
I think you did. I think you reposted it or you shared it or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was just like this. Like I said, it was a full circle moment for me.
Everything happens for a reason, I believe. So there's a reason that we met.
Maybe so.
And a reason that you were on the podcast today, which, by the way, thank you so much.
Yes,
Last thing I want to talk about really quick.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
We sat down and I was like, I love your overalls because they have like jeans. And I wasn't even going to wear this on the podcast, but I showed up a little bit late from a lunch meeting.
It's you.
And so just so you know, I was going to change into a little bit nicer outfit.
I think it's cute.
Well, thank you. I just got these shoes today and they're so warm.
I bet they are.
It's about to snow outside.
It looks like some camel fur down there. I don't know what it is, honey.
These things are. I just saw them.
It's fancy.
I've become kind of obsessed with like buying on Instagram.
Yeah. Because TikTok shop is hitting it hard too now, honey.
It's too easy.
Yeah, it is.
Because they take Apple Pay.
They do.
Or
they'll
just
save your information. Just say pay. Done.
Just pay now. That's it. Anyway, so we sat down and I saw that, and you're so tiny, and I love the story that you were like, oh well, I got up to 125 pounds
when I was pregnant.
When I was pregnant, 9 months pregnant, and I'm like
125 pounds on the hoof, honey.
Yeah.
I was. Whew. That was the heaviest I'd ever
like
been.
100 pounds.
I think I'm sitting at 105 right now, and that's me just eating, trying to keep weight.
Yeah, so you're just itty bitty. But so you were like, oh, well, my overalls were too short and my boots were going to show too much. So I just put on jeans.
Under my overalls.
She has on jeans under her overalls, which that is such a skinny girl thing to do.
Well, I'm so skinny I get cold, and it is not this cold in South Georgia, and it's cold in Nashville right now.
Just happened today.
So I put on my jeans under my overalls. By the way, these are my fancy overalls, but I need y'all to know that both sides of them, my husband is a mechanical engineer.
And
he has zip tied them together for me. I have had these forever. These are my stage overalls. I wore them in life. That's why they're ripped.
Did you say they're Paige?
No, Stage. I wear them on stage. I don't even know what brand these are, honey. You couldn't ask me.
They're really, really
I've had
cute.
them a long time.
We're going to have to look at the tag because I love the distress in them.
Yes.
But anyway, all that to say, I think that we should go into business together and start making...
And make some overalls like this.
Or jeans.
Or jeans.
That have the slit on the side with extra denim coming out the bottom.
Who knew I was just, a fashionista,
It's
honey.
so cute. So hopefully we'll get a shot. Can we get a shot of the bottom of her jeans for the podcast? Cause it is so freaking cute.
Yes.
And, I'm going to try to do that in some way. We used to take our jeans to the Amish.
Okay.
And they would make rugs.
Really?
Denim rugs for us out of our
That's
old
so
jeans.
cool.
So
That is so cool. Lots of people do that with like t-shirts and stuff now too.
yeah.
They'll
So it's
turn
got to
t-shirts
be
and stuff.
something like that. I'm going to find some jeans, attach them to another pair of jeans.
Well, now y'all holler at me if y'all want like a brand deal or something. We can like come up with something together.
We got to do something together. Like,
we'll come up with something. We'll call them.
okay, if I was one of your characters,
Okay.
what would my name be? Just Sara?
Yes, Sara. I'd probably call you
It's
Sara.
the southern way to say it.
Yeah. That's what we do. I'd say Sara. I'll make a
Sara.
skit when I leave here.
Make a
about
skit when you
Sara.
get home about being on a talk show with
I
me.
will. With Sara.
With Sara.
Okay. With Sara. Sara.
Thank you
Evans.
so much, Britany Snow.
Smith. It's okay. Say it again. We can. Brittany Snow. We were just talking about Snow. It's okay.
But she's not with us anymore, right? No, that's
Okay,
a different
that's okay.
Brittany. Brittany Murphy.
Brittany Murphy.
Gosh.
Yeah, her and Eminem did it in that one. Anyway. Anyhow.
Oh, yeah, that
cut.
movie.
Take it out. All right. Let's say. All right. Brittany Smith. Smith.
know.
Honey. Smith. Okay.
It's because I just said it's about to
It's
snow.
about to snow outside. Okay.
And I'm losing my mind
That's
because I
okay.
still have not slept since I got off the road. Okay. Anyway, thank you so much, Britany Smith,
Yes,
for
ma'am.
being on the podcast.
Yes, ma'am.
I wish you all the best.
Same.
I think you're going to become a like super famous comedian and you are very, very funny. So everybody go follow Britany Smith. This was so much fun.
Thank you so
What
much.
a great conversation.
I'm humbled, honey.
I'm humbled.
I am humbled, truly. I still cannot believe that we did this today.
It was great.
So thank you. I appreciate you.
Thank you.